हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, टुडे विल बी डिस्कस अबाउट पोएटिक डिक्शन। ओके, आज का मेरा टॉपिक क्या है? पोएटिक डिक्शन। 18th century. The term poetic diction is usually applied to the practice of new classical writers who believed that the language of the age is never the language of poetry, because by the principle of decorum, of fittingness, the poet must adapt his diction to the mood and elevation of a particular genre. Informal satire, familiar epistles, and occasional verse, there is a little or no poetic diction. They are written in the language really spoken by an urban and cultivated gentleman. In the satires and familiar epistles, the vocabulary is as free in principle as that used in any 19th century poem. The Ring and the Book, for example, Ode and Gorgic, they required a special diction to raise the matter to the height of the form. It was in the pastoral and Gorgic that the diction of the 18th century poet came to be most despised. This special diction, somewhat stilled and artificial, was challenged by Wordsworth in the preface to the second edition of the Lyrical Ballads, 1860. Wordsworth protested against what he called the guidance and inane phraseology of many modern writers. He pointed out there were also we found in these volumes little of what is usually called poetic diction, as much pain has been taken to avoid it as is ordinarily taken to produce it. First है historical survey of poetic diction. Much thought to poetic diction was given by Aristotle in the Poetics and later by other Greeks and Roman rhetoricians, especially Horace and Quintilian. Dante also made some valuable observations on the language of poetry. In his De Vulgari Eloquentia, both Aristotle and Dante argue the most way to use a dignified novel diction. Aristotle in the Poetics laid it down as a principle that the language of poetry should be distinctive and dignified. The dignity of poetry should be preserved by the use of a diction which had the sanction of tradition and admitted no words and expressions which were contaminated with the grossness of domestic use. During the period of Renaissance, when classical influence was dominant, Aristotle's canons of poetic diction governed the attitude of most of the writers, though the works of Chaucer and much of Shakespeare's greatest poetry were written in a language which had an echo in the vernacular. It was Spenser who, in the Faerie Queene, used poetic diction. In Spenser, there is over luxuriance of archaic and Latin words. Some of those words, the deadly are to be eternized. The verdant field night's humid curtain made their first appearance with Spenser. Next time, 18th century poetic diction. In the 18th century, poets were very particular about the division of poetry into various kinds, such as the elegy, satire, and epic, etc. And these different kinds entailed the use of different kinds of diction. In the 18th century, writing poems was a communal art in the sense that the poet was not free to write as he chose. Much had to be learned before he could write correctly. without offending the rules and distinctions acknowledged by poets and readers. A poet did not have to create the taste by which he was enjoyed to the same extent as a 19th century poet was conscious of having to. The kinds were ready waiting for him, and if the rules for the kinds in which he elected to write were properly complied with, the products were recognizable as poems of those kinds. It goes without saying that the products to be good poems, the material to which the rules were applied, had to be good. The kinds included epic tragedy in verse, Pindaric elegy, heroic and familiar epistle, pastoral gorgic, occasional verse, translations, and imitations. Pope chose to tackle all these kinds in the turn. Sometimes Pope keeps the kinds distinct when he introduces different kinds into the same poem. He knows what he is doing and marks off the component parts by the use of different kinds of diction. These rules and principles may seem curious pedantry after the practice of 19th century poets, but they were based on first-hand serenity of good poetry in the past, and so were as unpedantic in the hands of a poet as, say, the study of Spenser was unpedantic in the hands of Keats or in the hands of Dryden or Pope for the matter. Next, the role of Pope. In the satires, the pastorals, winds of forest, the magician, we have nothing of the so-called poetic diction which we notice in the later poem of Pope. It is in this translation of Homer that Pope made use of artificial diction. Pope felt that the dignity and sublimity of Homer could not be adequately expressed in an ordinary conventional language, so he coined new ones and borrowed numerous others from his procedures. Pope's Homer is certainly the greatest work which used this diction, but Pope did not invent that diction which he used. It he was drawing from and adding to a fund which had been growing for more than 100 years, a fund which has been augmented and improved by the progressive poet of 17th century. That is why those who stand in the direct line of development. Pope used the term poetic diction in the preface to his translation of the Iliad to mark the difference between the vocabulary of poetry and prose, and his sentences are figures and compound epithets. Pope wrote, if we descend from hence, remarking Homer's descriptions, images, and similes to the expression, we see the bright imagination of Homer shining out in the most enlivened forms of it. We acknowledge him the father of poetic diction, the first who taught that language of the gods to men to get again, to throw his language more out of prose. Homer seems to have affected the compound epithet. This was a sort of composition peculiarly proper to poetry, not only as it heightened the diction but as it assisted and filled the numbers with greater sounds and pomps, and likewise conduced in some measure to thicken the image. Next, other 18th century poets. After Pope, a number of poets such as Thomson, Grieg, Collinus, Cowper, Goldsmith, Dr. Johnson made use of poetic diction, the chief characteristics of which were the use of conventional or stock, chief characteristics of which were the use of conventional or stock epithets, the compound epithets, the avoidance of direct statement, and the use of fantastic phraseology. The immediate procedure of Pope dealt very largely with nature and the lack of genuine love and the direct observation of natural objects led some poets to the use of artificial diction. The mind of many 18th century nature poets was prepared by their study of Virgil's Gorgics from Virgil also line the music of which was so solid as executive as his. Virgil also helped them to concentrate their meaning into fewer words to combine words in new way. He furnished them with many actual words liquid involved purple, iridius, refulgent, conscious, gallet in red, care, etc. The value of 18th century nature poetry suffered to the 18th 19th century when the reverence for the Virgil faded in the age of Wordsworth. He protested against them, what he called the guidance and inferiority of many modern writers. Literature language differs from ordinary language by the conscious and deliberate use in it of powers additional to the force of grammatical meaning, power which are only causally employed in common speech. The language of poetry suggests more than meet the eye. Okay. Thank you for watching.